All right. We are live here at the GSMC Podcast.net. This is the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I have all your cool wrestling factoids Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern on the network. We also talk about, from things from AEW, the TNA, professional wrestling, Ring of Honor. Basically, if it makes headline news in the wrestling committee or community, we talk about it here on the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. So just kind of reflect on what we talked about real quick. We had our WWE Monday Night Raw review, our WWE NXT preview, and now we're going to talk about will Kevin Owens re-sign with the WWE. As of right now, it seems kind of dire, and I'm not, trying to sound mean, just trying to sound a little realistic in this kind of aspect of it, which is always not fun. But before we do any of that, I urge you guys, if you have a burning question or a hot take in terms of professional wrestling or just something you're dying to get off your chest, here at the GSMC Sports Network, we are all ears. This show is all about keeping the conversation lively, making sure your voice is part of the conversation, part of the mix. So don't be shy and drop those thoughts inside the chat. And if you really want to make sure your comment or question gets noticed, why not use that super chat under the chat box? Hit up that $sign, and it's guaranteed that your comment and question will be featured on the show. Plus, it's a great way to keep the lights on in terms of bringing you even more awesome sports content in this case, professional wrestling content. We are absolutely 1,010% super grateful for each and every one of you guys who tune into the podcast daily. And if once again, if the super chat is not your thing, remember you can still hit us up at the GSMCpodcast.net. Hit up the tips and donations link. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Give me some of your professional wrestling hot takes. Love those. Overall, I want this podcast to be like a nice little ongoing conversation that we have between one another. And remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity, 1,010%. So don't be shy. Hit up those comments, guys, and it's going to be awesome. Super chats, super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. So let's talk about some Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens has recently been in contract conflicts with WWE. It's not really a surprise at this point in time because Kevin Owens, I feel like, has been kind of in this shift of professional wrestling, kind of this wrestling paradigm that you had, that I feel like WWE had this idea that Vince McMahon would eventually leave WWE. They gave the reins to Triple H. Triple H lost the reins because Vince McMahon was like, "Oh, I want to come back and do this and that and the other." Then you had Vince come back for a couple of years. You see superstars like Kevin Owens suffer, and also Finn Balor. Finn Balor suffer as well during this time. And then Vince McMahon is kind of doing his thing, and then of course, like, he had to retire. Now WWE doesn't even mention the name Vince McMahon anymore because of everything between the the Janelle Grant allegations, and he's not even featured on WWE. Like it's crazy. It's crazy 1,010%. And the person who kind of suffered along this journey, I feel like, is Kevin Owens. I feel like Triple H kind of had the idea for him. But you know how Vince McMahon loves his nostalgia. He dropped his Universal Championship to Bill Goldberg. Like, when does that ever happen? Bill Goldberg also, defeated the Fiend as well, and it's frustrating, especially with Kevin Owens. When Kevin Owens enters the arena, he's not just this guy that people are like, oh, you know what, like, he's okay. He comes out, he has this loud, roaring theme song. The fans are behind him. He's a huge Canadian professional wrestler. He's noticed all over Canada, French Canada, and WWE. Of course, once when they have events in Canada, they like to exploit that. But overall, for Kevin Owens, I hate seeing him in this position because he seems like he was such a promising athlete coming out of NXT. And once again, Kevin Owens is kind of like that bad example of how once when NXT superstars made it onto the WWE main rosters, how it didn't really work out. Of course, that's aside to Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and all that kind of stuff. Kevin Owens joins the list like Keith Lee, Aleister Black, Lars Sullivan, EC3, and it sucks. I feel for Kevin. overall, I do feel like he goes out there and he gives it 1,010% all he has. It's the reason why I love watching, Kevin Owens matches and stuff like that. I feel like WWE, you know, he got offered a contract by WWE. He got offered a contract. AEW did not match that contract, leaving Kevin Owens to ultimately decide should he take a pay cut to be in WWE. At this point, I feel like he should. A lot of people are like saying that he shouldn't, but I know WWE shouldn't pay top dollar for Kevin Owens, although Kevin Owens have been, he's been pretty great for WWE, but it's hard to say. I feel like overall Kevin Owens could maybe, I feel like his character could be bigger in AEW, but there's so many superstars that are going to AEW. It's like a, one-stop shop kind of place, and then somebody kind of moves on. Like you've seen that with CM Punk, Jade Cargill, Cody Rhodes came back to WWE, showing that WWE is of course the main landscape in terms of professional wrestling. So to kind of keep your name in there in terms of basically everything, professional wrestling, when you have, when you're featured on SmackDown, he could be the United States champion. But that's another thing. When Kevin Owens, and you saw it at Bash at Berlin with his match against Cody Rhodes, it just wasn't top tier. It wasn't people like, oh my God, like for me, most of the time on Saturdays, I do work. I do work. And then I'm like, I dread not watching the WWE pay-per-views because I'm like, shoot, I do not want to miss the match between Roman Reigns and, somebody, for the WWE Undisputed Championship. So I'll record it. Bash at Berlin, I felt no regards. I didn't record it. I watched, I looked up the replay, hours later after I found out everything that already happened. And it just, yeah, because I love being surprised as a professional wrestler enthusiast. But for this pay per view, it wasn't great. WWE Bash at Berlin wasn't great. Well, what matches you kind of had to look something, what you like had to look forward to? Like Kevin Owens could have been a bigger superstar if done right, but I feel like WWE creative had definitely, caused detrimental, harm to his character bookings. Now people automatically just assume Kevin Owens is, going to be a part of a faction, then turn on him, then go for a singles championship and fail. Then he joins a faction again, turns on them, goes after another singles championship and fails. Like this wash, rinse, and repeat mentality of WWE. It worked for a little bit, but I think WWE fans are starting to catch on. I feel like Kevin Owens, he could be something bigger. But AEW, man, there's a lot of talent in AEW as well. It's not just a cakewalk. It's not guaranteed that once when you step onto the scene, you're going to become AEW Continental Champion and defeat Kazuchika Okada. It's not going to be guaranteed that you challenge for the AEW TNT Championship and defeat Jack Perry or you defeat, Bryan Danielson. But overall, Kevin Owens could be taken better care of in terms of WWE. I feel like WWE should have let him go. I don't think he should. But a lot of speculations, a lot of contract talks is, definitely in the talks, definitely in the talks right now. Kevin Owens, he hasn't won a singles championship in 7 years. His last reign was the Universal Championship that he lost 8 years ago. And, he had his, little limelight with Sami Zayn dethroning the Usos for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania, which was good, which was cool. But Kevin Owens, and I feel like that's what WWE's kind of looking forward to is the future. In 2025, what will Kevin Owens be? If he's going to be the same superstar, use that money to sign somebody big like Bobby Lashley. Because when you think of Bobby Lashley, you think of somebody main event. I see Bobby Lashley main event right off the bat, main event. No questions asked. When I see Kevin Owens, it's not the same talk. It's not the same talk. And, it's brutal and it sucks. But I don't know. I feel like WWE will resign KO. And I feel like Kevin Owens needs to resign with WWE despite if I was Kevin Owens' agent, I would, despite the money you could probably be getting somewhere else. AEW did not match they were like, they saw what Kevin Owens was asking and saw what WWE was offering. They were like, no, thank you. Kevin Owens, I don't think that you should look down on your talent. I don't think that you should, look at what WWE is offering you as, some kind of an insult. You're in the world of professional wrestling and it's hard to make it. It's hard to make a buck. It's hard to be that limelight because, you know, WWE creative or wrestling creative writers could have you in different bookings, and it's not your fault. It's not an indictment on your physical capabilities, your mic skills, because I feel like Kevin Owens does have some pretty good in-ring mic skills. I love it. I love it when Kevin Owens, grabs a mic. He's very humorous. He's funny. Also, he's very controversial. Gets in your face. Fight Owens, fight. But as of right now, I'm gonna, if I was the agent of Kevin Owens, I'd be like, look, swallow your pride, hope for a better year in WWE, and maybe in next contract talks we can get something better. But right now, you can't leave WWE. You make it AEW, I guarantee you're gonna be the same. You're gonna be in the same position you are now. You're gonna be mid Carter. Maybe touch on main events here and there, but I think he's gonna be mid Carter if he goes to AEW. Couple of reasons why Kevin Owens should sign with WWE. First and foremost, we have Triple H's influences on the new Paul Levesque era. When Kevin Owens won his Universal Championship, Triple H kind of deemed him the guy, turning on Seth Rollins and having Kevin win the championship. And once when I was talking about that professional wrestling paradigm in WWE, where you had Vince and Triple H and other creative people, putting their hands in, and maybe sometimes Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe, dip their fingers in a little bit too. And you're like, dude, like, well, what are we doing with this guy? Like, what's happening here? And it just doesn't. It just hasn't really worked out for Kevin, and Kevin has felt the worst of it. I kind of like to compare his character to a lot of what Finn Balor is dealing with as well. Finn Balor started off hot of NXT, like what you saw, Kevin Owens, but then of course, because Finn Balor had to relinquish the Universal Championship because of the shoulder injury with his match against Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, and Kevin Owens, didn't really have an injury. It's just that and he feels like his title reign, Kevin Owens admitted on SmackDown that a lot of us kind of knew what he was alluding to. He kind of compared it was tainted. It was tainted. Every single match he won, it was basically thanks to an interference by Chris Jericho. He won the championship because of Triple H, but it's just it's just hard. And I to be able to be a main event player, I feel like Kevin Owens needs to at this point, I'm not really too sure of how you could stay in the wrestling promotion industry in the same business for 8 years and kind of being considered a main event player. I don't want to condemn him to death. I don't want to say that he's DOA in terms of being promoted as perhaps a WWE champion. I don't want to say that because I don't want to curse anybody's career. I feel like Kevin Owens is talented. I do, and it's a damn shame that what's happened to his career. It's a damn shame, and it's remarkable what he's kind of come from to be a wrestler where he is right now. I'm not trying to say that overall he should be accepted of that, and he should just take dimes over dimes and jump over dimes to take pennies. I don't want him to feel like he has to kind of shoot himself low to be like, well, at least I'm a WWE superstar. Like, dude, like if you can go out there and think you can get better, which I feel like he can. I go for it, dude. Go for it. But during this day and age, especially, and I'm not trying to sound like that father. I am a father of three, and I'm not trying to say Kevin Owens is my son. But if you're in a business like the WWE, you are financially stable. Your career is stable. You have that stability, and you're going to sacrifice this. You're going to take the chance to go into AEW, and it's still unpredictable what could happen in AEW. You don't know what's going to happen if you cross borders into Tony Khan's promotion. You don't know what's going to happen. What if you wind up in the same spot you are in right now, and then all right, I'm just going to go back to WWE. They're going to lowball the crap out of you in terms of your contract. They are going to be like, all right, this guy failed in AEW. I don't want to say I told you so, but now we're going to offer you less money. So I'm not saying Kevin Owens should just take the deal, but yeah, maybe that's what I'm saying. Take the deal, Kevin. Take the deal. I'm just kidding. Moving forward, we have Asuka. On the other hand, women's division, she signs a long-term deal with WWE. Good for her. We're gonna kind of jump on the other side of that spectrum and kind of talk about how the Oscars featuring WWE, what this means for the Triple H Paul Levesque era and the women's division on Monday Night Raw, which sadly needs a revamp. So here we're gonna be back in about like 25 seconds.